Hey guys, I'm back. So, after the success of Back to the Future Part 1, a lot of people thought that the filmmakers knew that the film would be so successful that they would make a sequel. But that's not really the case. Yeah, when you make a movie, you either leave some hints or clues as to whether or not you're going to make a sequel, and that's definitely the case with Back to the Future. They, it's true that I guess that the filmmakers weren't really expecting this movie to be as huge as it was, and that people would want there to be a sequel. So, in 1989, we eventually got the long-awaited sequel, Back to the Future Part 2. It was, I like to call it the sequel with seriously guys, a lot of problems. This movie probably has even way more problems in it than any other sequel nowadays. Even back then, I know Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, had its fair share of problems. And it was all from a creative standpoint and whatnot, but Back to the Future Part 2, I think that they had all the elements to make a good movie, a good story, a good sequel, but it just didn't work out the way that we thought it would. I do like some things about Back to the Future Part 2, but there are just so many negative things about it than there are positive. As far as sequels go, this one is just it's okay. It's not really a good sequel. It's not a bad sequel either. It's just in the middle. It's just kind of like meh. So let's get right down to it. And of course, there are many, many things that are different about this one that from the first one. Like, the most obvious thing ever is that the role Jennifer is recast in this movie. The original actress was Claudia Wells, and there were some family issues that she had or something like that, and she just didn't play the role Jennifer in the sequels. And so the role got recasted, and Elizabeth Shue got the part. She played Allie in the first Karate Kid movie with Ralph Macchio, and that was pretty much it. And of course, the role of Jennifer is just so minimal in this movie. It's just huh? Really? But of course, since Jennifer was in the car with Doc and Marty at the end of Part 1, they of course have to have her along for whatever the adventure is in Part 2. But of course, she spends just the majority of the movie asleep. She doesn't really do anything at all in this movie. That's the biggest problem I have with this movie. Ugh. So, anywho, Doc, Marty, and passed out Jennifer arrive in the year 2015, and we find out that Marty's son got in some kind of trouble and wound up in prison for 10 years, and then Marty's daughter tried to break him out, and then she got put in state penitentiary for 20 years. So, yeah, so eventually, this whole part of the movie, which takes place in 2015, which is awesome, by the way, basically focuses on Marty trying to make sure that his kid doesn't end up in prison. And here's one of the things that's very interesting about this movie, is that all the actors, they play multiple roles. Mainly Michael J. Fox. He plays regular Marty, he plays Marty's son, old Marty, and even Marty's daughter. Yeah, that's right. That's the one thing interesting about this movie, is that Michael J. Fox plays Marty's daughter. Huh? Really? Well, anywho, excuse me. So, Marty enters the Cafe 80s, which looks really, really cool. And he orders a Pepsi, and then he comes across old Biff, who is just really mean and crotchety and everything else like that. This is another problem I have with this movie, is that the Biff character in this movie is just the way he acts and everything else like that, especially alternate 1985 Biff, is just so completely different from the character from the first film. what is going on here? I mean, ugh. I just, duh. Let's just move on. So anywho, we get introduced to Biff's grandson, Griff, who is also played by Thomas F. Wilson, who of course plays Biff, and also in part 3 he played Buford Tannen. Woohoo. I mean, yay! So anywho, Griff shows up, and then the regular Marty Jr. shows up, and of course Marty Jr. is just a big old wimp in this movie. I mean, come on. So anywho, regular Marty tells Griff no to whatever the big illegal crime thing was, and then Griff calls Marty a chicken. Okay, and then Marty gets really pissed off about that. I mean, I guess they're trying to set this up for whatever was going to happen in the third movie. I mean, but really? Just really bugs the freaking heck out of me. So anywho, and then after that we get, oh yes, a chase scene, which is something that happened in the first movie. This is another problem I have with this movie. They're pretty much copying all the awesome things from the first movie. But anywho, so Griff and his gang wind up in jail, and then it's time to go back, but they can't do that because Jennifer has been discovered by the police, and now she's taken back to where her and Marty now live in Hilldale, which looks like really weird if you ask me, but oh well. So then anywho, we get a sense of what life was like for Marty and Jennifer in 2015, and it's really not all that bad. Except Marty's hand is broken. He can't play guitar anymore. And what's worse is that one of his co-workers is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I am not kidding you. Look it up. It's there. Yes, I'm not kidding you. Flea from freaking Red Hot Chili Peppers is in this movie and is also in the sequel. Why? So, anywho, ultimately they get back, but before all that happened, Marty bought a sports almanac, which eventually Biff got his hands on, and then Biff stole the DeLorean and, I guess, went back to the past to give the almanac to his younger self for some reason. I don't know why he did that. And then when Biff got back, well, let's just say that things didn't go so well for Biff afterwards. Let's just leave it at that. So anywho, when Doug, Marty, and Jennifer arrive in 1985, it's a completely different 1985. It's completely alternate. It turns out that everything in this town is run by who else? Biff, who killed Marty's dad, is now married Marty's mom. And, well, then of course, we get the scene where Doc pretty much explains that Biff stole the DeLorean, gave the almanac to himself sometime in the past, and then, well, the whole crappy 1985 happened. Just because of that. Wow. So then Marty needs to know when, where, and how young Biff got his hands on the almanac, and of course, we get the fact that Biff got the almanac in 1955 from his older self. That's what I meant to say, sorry. And so then Doc and Marty have to travel back to 1955, and not just any day in 1955. The same day that Marty the same day as the Enchantment of Sea Dance, and the exact same day when first film Marty went back to 1985 after fixing all the mistakes he made in 1955. So yes, We're going back to the first movie. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah. So, anywho, Marty and Doc ultimately succeed in their plan, but unfortunately, things get a little haywire when the DeLorean is struck by lightning. Apparently, it was spinning around at 88 miles an hour for some reason. And then we find out that Doc is in the year 1885, and of course, Marty has to pretty much go back and get him. Or maybe not, I don't know. But, oh well. And so that's pretty much all that happens in this movie. Repeat of a classic scene from the first movie. Repeat of footage from the first movie. And, well, that's pretty much it. I mean, seriously, this movie could have been a whole lot better if you ask me. But I digress. But still, the one thing I did like about this movie was the future stuff. Now, that was awesome. Okay, those were my favorite scenes in the entire movie. The future stuff was really, really good. Okay, so there you have it. Let's look at some of the special features now, shall we? Let's see here. We got deleted scenes, Tales from the Future, Time Flies, the physics of Back to the Future. Also commentaries, and then so it's got Making It Back to the Future Part 2, Making the Trilogy Chapter 2, Outtakes, Production Design, Storyboarding, Designing the DeLorean, Designing Time Travel, Hoverboard Test, Evolution of Visual Effects Shots, and of course, photo galleries. You know, production art, additional storyboards, behind the scenes photographs, marketing materials, character portraits, etc. Blah, 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 blah. Wow. Talk about a bunch of special features, if you ask me. So, anywho, but still, Back to the Future Part 2 is an awful, awful sequel. Well, it's not that awful. I mean, it's not Star Trek V, The Final Frontier bad. It's just, they could have done a whole lot more with this movie. That was good. But they came up with a decent story, a decent plot, and of course, Jennifer actually doing stuff in this movie. But thankfully, everything will get better with the third movie. Yay! Which I will be reviewing, I don't know when, sometime today. Hopefully before I go to bed. So, yeah, that's it for now. Peace out. Live long and prosper. Bye.